we really need to push that kids know who this school's been named after. It's not just a birthday.
Right.
It's not a day off of school. It's not a march. It's not a speech. Demographics of this school, we have one of the highest percentages of African American students in the district. We have 27% African American and around 60% Hispanic. Fresno has a rich history. Within Fresno Unified School District in particular, there has been some systematic issues around racism and with students and families within the district. Fresno Unified in particular has dealt with segregation like the rest of the country. And one of the things that Fresno Unified tried to do to remedy was to create desegregation within the school district. And one of the things that happened is that we had a middle school locally here in the 93706 area code. This was historically a predominantly Black and brown community. And so that middle school actually closed. And what happened is those students, those Black and brown students, were then bused out to neighboring schools. Those students were then treated like outsiders. That wasn't their home school. Their home school was closed and they were bused out. They were very disenfranchised. The district then opened what's called Computech Middle School, which then fed into the high school. It is a magnet program. So we had students from the outside bust into this Computech magnet program within Fresno Unified School District. However, the students that lived in this area code were disenfranchised. Because it was a magnet school, you had to apply, you had to qualify to get accepted into that magnet program. So students within this area code could not attend their own middle school, their home middle school, because it was turned into a magnet. They were bused out. Students that were bused in were still segregated because it was a school within a school. It was a magnet program within a school that fed into a high school that was also segregated into a magnet program on that high school campus. This went on for 3 decades, 30 plus years, until 2014 when Rutherford B. Gaston Middle School was built and opened. It was the first time in 30 plus years that students in this area code have had a middle school, a home middle school to go to call their own, where they were not bused out anymore, where they were not outsiders anymore. They had their own home school. And that's something that has systematically happened across the country, where under the guise of desegregation, students were bused out, but did not still have that same equal access and opportunities at the schools that they were bused out to. And then within their own school district, they, in their own area code, their home school, they didn't have access to. So that's a little bit of a history of what happened within Fresno Unified. And that's not unique to Fresno, that's not unique to California, that's something that has happened across the country. So my uncle Rutherford, he was in the military, and when he came back from the war, he decided that he was going to move to California. Our family's from Pennsylvania. He is the 12th brother of 13 brothers and sisters. Everybody else is still in the state of Pennsylvania. And he decided, I'm gonna go move to California. I wanna go to college. I don't want to work in the steel mills. My own grandfather worked in the steel mills. He came to California, went to California State University of Fresno, and he became a teacher. He was hired in Fresno Unified as a school teacher. And he was hired in 1953 as a 6th grade teacher. And then in 1963, he became the first African-American administrator within Fresno Unified School District. So when they did decide to build a middle school back in this area code, his name was one of the names that was recommended to be named as the middle school for this area. He did teach in this area. He was an administrator in this area. In fact, he opened up Bethune Elementary School, which is down the street. He worked during a time where There was segregation. He was a Black teacher, he was a Black administrator with predominantly Black and brown students at his school site, and he watched that transition into where he lost the Black teachers. He was one Black administrator in an entire district with a white staff. And so he lived through that, he experienced that. His work had been questioned as well. One year in particular, the state came in and made students retake a state test because they didn't believe that Black and brown students could test as well as they did under his leadership. In fact, when they took the test the second time, they did better. So when the state came in, the students actually did better. They performed, as we know our students can. Originally, I was not going to go into education. I wanted to be a civil rights attorney. My father is a teacher. My uncle was a teacher and a principal. I grew up around educators, which is unique for me in the African-American experience. Most African-American students don't have a Black teacher, that don't have a teacher that looks like them, let alone an administrator. But I grew up in a home where that was common and that was normal. So that was very unique for me. I really wanted to be the next Thurgood Marshall. I wanted to be a civil rights attorney and actually applied to go to law school. I had to do some volunteer work, and I actually had to do volunteer work here in Fresno Unified. And I did it here at King Elementary School 25 years ago. Under the leadership of Mr. Ali, the principal at the time. I did 80 hours of some work here at the school to get some work in for my college credits, and fell in love with working with kids, and decided to start substitute teaching. And turned it around. And I feel that the work that I'm doing with kids, the work that I'm doing as an administrator, I am advocating. I'm advocating to make sure that students have fair, equal access to opportunities, to education. So in a sense, I'm still doing the work that I felt passionate about when I was in college. I'm still doing that work. There's definitely a difference just because he's a Black male. I think the Black male administrator and teacher experience is much different than myself as a Black female. He did get to experience segregation. He did get to experience desegregation. He was a trailblazer. I am standing on shoulders of people that paved a way. And so I think the experience is a bit different. However, because of the things that have been put in place systematically, I'm still experiencing some of the things that I'm sure he experienced, where my intelligence is questioned, where my choices are questioned, where my integrity is questioned. And I don't think that happens to all administrators, but definitely I know working with other Black administrators with the group that I work with, which is African American Principals United within Fresno Unified, I know that the Black male experience is much different. So I think the difference is that, time, he was a male, but definitely I'm reaping the benefits of him being a trailblazer. The greatest rewards is changing lives. Working with students, working with families, working with staff, knowing that you're making a difference every day. Having students come back and saying, I'm so glad that you were my principal. Being in front of students and families, knowing that I look like them, knowing that they can become the next Mrs. Gaston. They can become the next teacher, the next principal. That's how we're going to increase the pipeline of getting more educators in front of students that look like them. One of the things that I'm passionate about is I do really try to recruit and retain staff here on this campus to reflect the diversity of the community that we live in. And it's very apparent when you walk on this campus that that is something that happens. Currently, I enjoy mentoring. the next generation. I mentor other teachers that are in leadership cohort. I've mentored leaders that are in the leadership cohort. It is ultimately my goal to bring people up alongside so that when I retire, I know that there's someone in that place to continue to change the lives of students. I think what I would want people to know about being a principal, Black principal, female principal, is that we're in this work because we love it. We're in this work because we're passionate about students. We're in this work because we're passionate about the community and the families that live in these communities, and that we love the students, family, community, and I think that would go for anybody that's in education. So we do have several affinity groups within the school district. Our men do belong to a group called MCEL, which is a national organization. And the women were kind of like, hey, we don't have a national organization of women administrators. And so we formed our own group, and it's called Black Women Educators United. And we do meet quarterly. Sometimes it's just to have a group of Black women that we can talk to and share stories and relate and rely on. It is really good for networking as well. And then we have what's called the African American Principals United. It is an affinity group where it's just administrators, where we are able to meet. We do book studies. Currently, we are reading Black Minds Matter. Part of the book study work is how do we apply what we're learning at our sites with our staff, with our students and our families. And so we look at our student data, in particular, our African American student data. We share how we can support each other in ensuring that our Black and Brown students are able to show growth and progress. We have piloted programs at our sites as well. Currently, I'm piloting 2 programs, one in particular for African American students. It's an after-school reading program. And so that's something that we do as a group. And so as far as the African American principals, we meet once a month. We're accountable to each other. We support one another. Again, whenever I need anything, I know that they're a group that they're a text away, they're a phone call away. They will come on site if I need them to. I will go to them if they need me to. And just having that group, I don't think I would be able to do the work that I'm able to do without that support. There have been times where you're in this job and it's a lonely job. You're at the top and sometimes you feel isolated. Meeting with them takes away that isolation. It makes you feel like you're part of something bigger, and they understand the unique struggles that I go through, that they go through. I think it's important to understand that we can't do this alone. It takes the support, like I said, of the affinity group. It takes the support of having mentorship. It takes the support of the staff here at the school sites, families. So I think it's really important to understand that you cannot do this job alone. You can't do this work alone. One of the things we look at is I just really want to ensure that that my adult population, the staff that we have, is representative of the demographic of students we have. It's really important to have adults in front of students that look like them. Students are more likely to be successful. We see increased graduation rates. We see increase in students' test scores when they have a teacher or other staff members around them that look like them. And it's unique because I'm able to look at a child and say, you're a child. I had a student in my office in particular, 11-year-old, 6th grade boy. I said, I see you as an 11-year-old boy. Not everybody sees him as an 11-year-old boy. And having someone in this position that looks like them, I see them. And I don't think that always happens. So it's really important to have staff that sees our students for who they are, which are students, they're children. We have an HBCU connection here within our district as well. We have 2 feeder high schools that students are able to get HBCU credit if they enroll in a program that we have as well. So we really are intentional about working with our African American students, with our Black Student Union students, that we take them on HBCU tours, but we also brought HBCU to them. So at Edison High School, at Sunnyside High School, here within the district, they are getting college credit. And so we just want to make sure that they have access to everything that college has to offer them. We actually, as a group, as African American Principals United, through funding, we actually send a select group of students on HBCU tours. And so those students are able to then go visit those colleges, and then again, they have access to college credit at their high school as well. One of the things I would say to any future teacher or leader is think of one person that has impacted your life. Everybody can think of at least one teacher that has turned it around for them, one teacher that made them love going to school, and you can be that person for somebody. I can think of my 3rd grade teacher. I knew she loved me, and I loved going to school because I knew she loved me. And so students remember how you made them feel. They may not remember everything they've learned while they're in your classroom, but they remember how you made them feel. So you can be that person for somebody. And so that's how I would really just encourage that next generation. You can be that person for somebody. And the best way to do that, the biggest impact, is through education. You get to work with groups of students year after year, and you're making a difference. I remember we didn't have the most money, and so she would bring me her daughter's old clothes, and and I wasn't thin, so her daughter wasn't either. So me being able to get clothes that fit was like I knew she loved me, and her daughter had the nicest things, and I just thought like this is like the best thing ever when she would bring me things, and I just remember that like who does that, and so I want to be that for kids. And so we have a clothing closet, we have a food pantry, we have all that stuff here because I don't want anything to prevent kids from not wanting to be at school. But we're also a community school, so we have a community schools grant. And so through that community schools grant, we have a clothing closet, we have a food pantry. When we have students in need, if I see a student outside without a sweater on, we'll go and get a sweater.